Montreal. We're going to start things off with two guys who suffered their first loss a year ago, haven't fought since. Now they face each other. North Carolina's Derek Edwards against Montreal-based Adonis Stevenson. Now, a year ago, Adonis Stevenson was a late-blooming unbeaten. He was thinking he had a bright future. He was TKO'd in the second round to Darnell Boone. Real step back for the 33-year-old. Took a year off. He now returns. Derek Edwards, a 31-year-old from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 25-1, 13 knockouts. He had run his mark to 25-0 before losing to Marcus Johnson. Time to see how the fighters will keep their edge. Brought to you by Just for Men Mustache and Beard.
Well, let's go with the fighter who's fighting locally, Stevenson. Use your southpaw jab to set up your straight left. And for Edwards, he was knocked out in his last fight. Tests his confidence early with some pressure.
Timekeeper Andre Dual. Knockdown timekeeper Jerry Boland. Les juges pour ce combat. The three judges appointed at ringside.
So Adonis Stevenson, April 2010. Darnell Boone got the best of him. Haitian-born, Montreal-raised, moved to Montreal from Haiti at 5 years old. He was involved in perhaps one of the oddest endings to a fight we ever broadcast on ESPN, Teddy. He fought the former Contender reality show star Anthony Bonsante. It was next door at the Windsor station. Stevenson scored a knockdown on a glancing blow that was almost more push than punch. Both of us felt Bonsante was not hurt all that much. He did go down, and he laid motionless on the canvas. He was playing possum. The ref waved off the fight. What else was the ref to do? The guy's laying motionless after a knockdown. Bonsante, as soon as he realized the fight's over, immediately jumps up and protests the stoppage. But nonetheless, it was one of the wins on Adonis Stevenson's road to arrive at this point. That was back in August of 2008.
It is a mental game. 75% of boxing is mental, not just physical. And sometimes fighters are like any other human being. They change their mind. They give in a little bit. They sort of be a little submissive to a point, and then all of a sudden they change their mind. They say, oh no, I'm going to fight. For Bonsante that night, it was a little too late. If he did change his mind, as you just said, by the time he did, the referee had already made his decision. But you see strange things in boxing. Again, because the landscape is the landscape of the mind.
Stevenson, through the years, has gotten in some quality sparring with super middleweight contender Labrado Andrade, who's done a good job of winning over the appreciation of Quebec fans. And a good reception for the Montreal-based Stevenson, trying to bounce back after suffering the lone loss on his ledger a year ago. They are scheduled for 10, and Jean-Guy Brousseau is the referee.
We've talked before the fight. I want 10 fights. Obey my command at all time and protect yourself at all times. Vous allez vers votre combat, vous allez mes directives, un combat propre, obéissez à mes commandes tout le temps, protégez-moi tout le temps. Touchez vos gants, touch love. Bonne chance, good luck.
Stevenson is a smaller man. I wonder if Edwards will look to press him, not only because he's coming off a knockout, because he feels he is bigger. Stevenson, most of his fights, Joe, at 168, while Edwards has fought from 181 to 188 pounds 4 times, and he has fought 10 times at light heavyweight. So if I'm in the corner of Edwards, I think I'm looking to get inside on Stevenson, push the envelope a little bit.
Edwards came in at just over 167 for this fight. Back in 2003, he weighed 188.
Stevenson is a southpaw, always difficult to deal with. Edwards would be well served to move away from the power hand, the backhand, the left hand of the southpaw, step to his left, and try to get outside that lead right foot. Where he can do that, get a better angle for contact.
Edwards firing back with that right hand against the jab of Stevenson. Stevenson doubling up that jab, trying to find some range. There's a right hand from Derek Edwards.
You mentioned it early, similarities with these two fighters. Both have been off 1 year and both lost their only fights in their last fight.
Good snapping left hand that time by Adonis. Stevenson scored.
No sense in being a southpaw and a tall one at that if you don't behave like you want. I think Stevenson, the southpaw in all black, should be using that southpaw jab to confuse Edwards more. He's got a long jab, and again, it's a southpaw jab, something that the orthodox fighter doesn't see every day.
There he sends the left hand behind that right jab.
Edwards stepped up in his last fight and he lost. Before that, he built his record against some very soft competition. Actually, he won 2 split decisions versus a 5-7 opponent and an 8-19 opponent.
Those were geography-based wins.
Yes, most of the fights for Edwards in the South, as you just said, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, and his only loss when he fought outside of the South.
Off the top of your head, how many Friday night fights do you think we've done in the state of North Carolina in the past decade?
Not too many.
I don't think one. He's got multiple wins in North Carolina. Not a strong commission out there, not active on the upper level of the fight scene.
Again, Stevenson could take better control with that reach that he has and that southpaw jab.
Eddie back with you here at the Bell Center in Montreal. Big night for the local fans as they look to see David Lemieux secure himself a title shot opportunity later this year if he can get past Marco Antonio Rubio in our middleweight title eliminator. That's coming up in our main event. For now, Adonis Stevenson and Derek Edwards, 2 fighters who were unbeaten as of last year. Both suffered their first loss of their career last spring. Both took a year off. Now they meet up here.
Edwards has a little bit more burden, a little more pressure on him, on his shoulders, than Stevenson, because he's a shorter guy. He feels the pressure to make the fight, to come forward. He's just trying to figure out a way to do it intelligently without walking into something from the taller Stevenson.
ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball will continue Sunday and Monday night. Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell, and it is the Red Sox and the Yankees. Monday night, Tampa faces the Red Sox.
Red Sox never gets old.
Never gets old. It was going to get real dangerous real quick for Boston if they didn't win. Started the season 0-6, and they beat the Yanks today 9-6. Left hand to the body from Stevenson.
Talked about the pressure being on Edwards to make the fight, being the shorter guy. There's pressure on Stevenson to control the line, control distance and range with that long jab. Try to keep Edwards at the end of it, set punches up off of it, and then every once in a while, maybe by controlling range, make Edwards reach a little bit, take chances, get careless.
That right hand blocked that Edwards threw. Doubling up that left hand now is Stevenson.
Neither one of these fighters are spring chickens. Stevenson 33. Edwards, we have him listed at 36, but he says his age is 31. He's feeling a little older right now, though. Feeling more like 36.
6, 7, 8. Okay. Bucks.
So 30 seconds to go. The knockdown scored by Stevenson. Oh, and he scores a solid straight left hand.
3, 4, 5, Hey, you okay? No. Time out.
Look at the damage done to the face of Edwards. Blood streaming out of his nose instantly. Big shot at the end of the second round by Adonis Stevenson. Here's the first knockdown.
Straight left hand, we talked about it in the keep your edge segment. The southpaw Stevenson wants to use that left hand. That's his favorite punch. That's his power punch. Again, the long right jab, the southpaw jab, sets it up, blinds him a little bit. And then again, the southpaw punch, the backhand, the left hand does the damage, just as we talked about in keep your edge.
First part of the round, time up. All right? Okay. Then start moving around. I need you to get in your toes, start working off that jab.
Well, there's a guy used to landing power punches like that. David Lemieux, just 22 years old, 24 knockouts in his 25 wins. Ring Magazine has him at number 10. If he wins tonight against Rubio, he will be lined up to fight for the middleweight title in the WBC.
You know, I mentioned at the start of this fight that Edwards has fought some real soft opposition. Let me just throw some of the records at you of that opposition that Edwards has fought. He fought a fighter who's 26 wins and 102 losses. He fought another fighter who's 11 wins and 55 losses.
Okay. Well.
And another one, 4 wins, 37 losses. That is soft opposition.
It is. You see the blood streaming out of the nose of Derek Edwards. And before this third round started, they brought him over to Dr. Pierre Mignor. And the doc said to him that he was feeling the nose, feeling for the damage there of what looks to be a broken nose. We won't speculate, but in this business, that's a pretty easy one to see there with the blood streaming on impact. And he said it doesn't hurt at all. And the response from Edwards was, no, I want to continue fighting. I'm sure it hurts, but that's a different question. Do you want to continue fighting? That's what a fighter does. He deals with the pain.
He overcomes things. He fights. Let's not forget, even though it's been all Stevenson, with length, with size, reach, with that southpaw jab, with that left hand, his favorite punch, but Stevenson was knocked out in his last fight. There's hope for Edwards. And not only was Stevenson knocked out in his last fight, but he was knocked out by a 16, 15, and 2 opponent.
Another left hand lands clean. That time Edwards came forward trying to wrap up, but he didn't go down. Now he's firing back with a combination of right and a left, and he just took a left uppercut on the inside before he hangs on.
Edwards showing some heart, but not the smarts you want to see. And what I mean by that, he needs to move to his left. He's moving to his right into that southpaw left hand. Staying right in front of that power punch, the favorite punch of Stevenson.
What a shot by Stevenson!
No, that's enough.
That's what happens when you stand right in front.
This fight is over. Spaghetti legs on Edwards. Stevenson comes back in a big way after the year layoff.
You wondered going into this fight how Stevenson's confidence was going to be coming in here after a year layoff and being knocked out in his last bout. Well, they got the right guy for him. His confidence was good, and he did the right things. He controlled distance with the shorter man.
Sit back and enjoy this one.
And if you wonder why it's landed, just look where Edwards is. Right in front of that left hand. He should be moving the other way to his left. He moves to his right and gets banged by that straight southpaw left hand.
Hear the impact in real time. 2 knockdowns scored in the second. What appears to be a broken nose suffered with about 30 seconds to go in the second. And then Edwards eats that big left hand in the third that ends it on impact. Let's send it up to the ring. and get the particulars with Christian Gauthier.
Mesdames et messieurs, mesdames et messieurs, mesdames et messieurs, le gagnant de ce combat par KO à 1 minute 48 secondes du 3e round et nouveau champion NABA des super moyens. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this bout by knockout at 1 minute and 48 seconds of the 3rd round, and new NABA super middleweight champion, Adonis Superman Stevenson.
The late bloomer who didn't debut as a pro until he was 29 years old, gathered himself after suffering that unexpected loss last spring, comes back in front of the home fans and scores the knockout over Derek Edwards.